of old Aberdeen, and they home to me. The northern lights of Aberdeen, and where I long to be. I've seen a wander all of my time, and many a child I see. Comes I'm on your way to home in Aberdeen. When I was
Auntie Nessie, she lived in Motherwell in a series of tower blocks called the Seven Sisters, a kind of notorious group of blocks that were like tall, skinny blocks. I think there was like 2 flats on each floor, so they were really tall and skinny, about 17 stories high. And I remember going to visit her, and the lifts would never work. She'd be on the very top floor, and we'd come in when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and she'd always give us a Krabby's green ginger to drink, which was alcoholic, which I don't think she understood either, but it got us quite merry. And I always remember her TV was really on very loudly, and a big thick shag pile carpet, and a fire on all the time, electric fire. And when it was windy, looking out the window, you could see all the tower blocks swaying in the wind, because there was 7 in a line, and they'd all sway at different times. And I think they would move across the window. They'd probably move about 20 foot from the top of the tower block, swaying in the wind, because they were really elastic. I used to think that was quite scary, as you saw this tower block flying past the window. I always think it would snap and the whole thing would collapse. It never did. Dies.
Where do they go?
Whatever they were thinking just before they died, maybe their life going through their life.
It's true, you could never really document what someone thinks when they're dying, could you? I mean, you could try and document what people think throughout their life, but you'll never be able to capture everything. But it'd be too much information to have as well. I mean, what would you do if you had every single thought, memory, feeling including all the different senses. So you had like what they saw, heard, smelt, felt, inside and physically, at all times of their life. If you had that for both of your parents, and that would be
Overwhelming.
an incredibly overwhelming amount of information. So in some ways, it's good that it doesn't stay.
Because for every moment you passed a particular tree, their memory of the tree would overlap your memory of the tree, so you'd have too many personal sensations. Which just shows you we
Also,
don't know
you
what
won't
people
even,
are thinking.
Yeah, but you don't even remember every single time that you yourself left your house and locked your door. Do you?
No.
There's just like a general sense of how that feels. If you think about it right now, for me it's like, I leave my house, lock the door, get really confused about which way locks the bottom door, then give up, then leave. That is my general experience of leaving the house and locking the door.
Well, there's a muscle memory too. Every time you come out the door, you do the same thing. You turn around, your body's almost doing it without you thinking. So muscle memory, but that's also something that goes when somebody dies, is all their muscle memory, their ways of being in the world just evaporate.
Yeah.
But most of the time I don't think what I'm doing. Hardly ever.
You know, some people constantly like bite their lip or chew the inside of their mouth. Sort of like I don't know what it would be. Or some people, you know, might like do stuff with their fingers or...
Well, worry beads is a physical thing that people do to maintain a part of their brain. And I suppose it allows them to either think or not, or stop thinking, is it? You know, you do a physical thing like count the beads or bite your lip or, you know...
Yeah.
In a way to...
Those are like...
Release
I don't know
other
if they're
things.
actually called stims, but things that... repetitive movements to release or subdue, like possibly anxiety maybe, but anyways, whatever, these movements, they're like, yeah, your body's gonna forget how to do them when you die, or when you get, if you had motor neuron disease, that's your muscles forgetting how to do things, and then dementia's your brain forgetting.
Well, I was going to say that's another thing with my dad. He had Alzheimer's, so even when he was alive, so much of his memory was gone. His deep memories was the last thing that remains, but he wouldn't know where you were staying, or he did always remember who I was, but So this bit of the school was primaries 1, 2 and 3, so it was the infants section, which was kind of separated from the seniors, well, the older people. And these are the classrooms there. And I really remember...
So you were 3?
No, I was 5, 6 and 7 in this side. And,
I always thought you started
I remember sitting on the hill bit here. These steps were there as well, yeah, and I remember sitting at the top, and we had to decide what we're going to write on our hands, whether it would be Hibs or Hearts, because that was the team we were going to support in the 2 Edinburgh teams. And I knew nothing about them, but I think I remember asking what the strips were, and I liked green, and Hibs wore green. I preferred their top. So I decided, not really. I had no idea there's a bit of a Protestant Catholic divide, not so bad as Celtic and Rangers in Glasgow, but there is still, where Hibs is the Catholic team. My
is
dad's
this for,
Protestant, so
Scotland football or rugby?
this is for the football.
Football, yeah.
And then when I decided Hibs, I had to have Hibs written on my fingers, Hibs, which isn't as good as Hearts, Hearts. No, you need 6 for that. I don't know. I just seem to remember that. So this is where I chose my football team, on that hill.
And who made you choose this?
All my friends were all sitting there deciding which team we'd support. Some chose Hearts and some chose Hibs.
And it wasn't even.
That's just the memories come back to me here. I'm not religious, but my family in the past had been Protestant. Yeah, because the East Coast is more that. And so in theory, I should be supporting Hearts and Rangers, but I don't. I support Hibs and Celtic, if anything.
Because of being.
If anything, because I like the colour green.
Yeah.
So this is Granton Harbour.
I remember. I don't think it was this harbour, but I do remember. I think it might have been in Creole.
Crail.
Because King Creole of Creosote.
King
Is that
King Creosote in Crail.
King Creosote or something? We saw him there.
Yeah.
Anyways, I do remember a harbour similar to this. You know how they go round and you have to walk all the way out.
Yeah, we passed
this
by
is-
him, didn't we, on the way down to the harbour, sitting on a bench.
Yeah, he was sitting on a bench. But I don't think this was the place I was thinking of. There's a photograph of Grandpa, me and Ag, but I don't think that is the same place.
Oh, I think that we took a lot of photographs in Fife in similar harbours, but they're much sort of smaller. They're in little villages, you know. But we also took loads of photographs of. I've taken loads of photographs of Grandpa here. He always liked harbours because of his youth and being brought up in a harbour town, Arbroath, which we're going to go to tomorrow. So he always liked boats and harbours. It just always, I suppose, reminded him of his childhood. So he used to like coming here, and this is why he probably came here for the fish shop. He was always very keen on fish as well because of it.
Which is
There's
called
Welch's
fishmonger.
fishmongers. So I remember him definitely bringing you here. We came with Mona,
I remember coming here as well.
and there was fish in the tank. I think there are still lobsters in the tank that you girls were
And
fascinated by.
they are still moving, aren't they? I think that might have been my first encounter with, like, moving fish in a fish shop.
Sunday, don't leave me. Don't leave me. Sunday, don't leave me. Don't leave me.
Yeah, so the rock garden was kind of the final destination that we'd come to in the park, I feel like. And we used to play hide and seek. It's always been like amazingly well kept, this rock garden. It's like you know, they keep the lawn so neatly cut. It looks like some sort of paradise. It's like kind of like an oasis in the middle of Edinburgh. Anyway, we used to come here. And then chase around. You'd have to go and hide, I think. I remember also doing this with Roshan, me and Ag, to go and hide, and then you'd get a certain amount of time before the person who was chasing would come, and then they would chase you around. And the top over just behind here, like the peak of the rock garden where there's the waterfall, that was like the safe haven, and if you made it there, then you were gonna be fine. That's my main memories. I was younger, we used to go up to Edinburgh every single New Year. We would drive up in the car as a family and stay at my grandparents' house. And then we'd probably drive down on the 1st or 2nd of January, just in time to go back to school. You see, if you're Scottish, you wouldn't call it New Year. It's more formally known as Hogmanay. Although if I ever said that to an English person, they would look at me with a confused face. But we religiously went up to Scotland. I mean, I can't remember a single New Year between the age of, 0 and 15, that I wasn't in Scotland. It's a massive deal in Edinburgh. They shut off the entire of the city centre. It's barricaded and you have to have a ticket to get in. That is, unless, of course, you sit at the pub all day. But I was always too young to do that. They have performances and live music and fireworks coming from the castle. It's truly magical. We were lucky enough, however, due to my parents' friends, to get invited to Calton Hill to go and watch the fireworks. My parents had these, I think they were American friends, who would rent out this massive house at the top of Calton Hill, and they would throw these incredible parties on New Year's. There was dancing all night and tables filled with food. I remember the exact taste of the chocolate truffles me and my sister used to sneak in that tinfoil wrapping. And we would play with the other children, different games. There was also this room at the top of the house. I think it was a dome, circular room. And it had these whispering walls, where if I stood at one side of the wall with my ear against the wall, and someone else stood at the other side, and they spoke into the wall, the sound would be carried around the room. Then, when it was time for us to go and watch the fireworks, we would all go and stand outside, huddled together on the top of the hill. They would set fireworks off there, but they would also set fireworks off at the castle. Sometimes it felt like we were celebrities. There were these camera people interviewing outside on the top of the hill for the live television, because it was such an important event. And I remember at the end of the night, we would have to try and get a taxi back home. We would walk down the hill, my parents probably quite drunk, find a taxi and drive back to my grandpa's house. Miss my grandpa, I have such clear memories of him dancing
and now
around.
I come back to this land of my birth. I brought back my treasures, but only to find they're less than the pleasures that I first left behind. For these are my mountains, and this is my glen. The braes of my childhood will know me again. No lands ever claimed me, though far I did roam. For these are my mountains, and I'm going home.